Hey guys, this is Nick Nanavati, and I'm here today to teach you about how to beat Tyranids with your Imperial armies or your armies that shoot a lot. So Tyranids are one of the fastest and most deadly close combat armies in the game. They can move 40 inches across the table with their Gene Stealers, then charge, then move again after they've killed the unit, or fight twice and go even further. They can combine these strats, wrap stuff in close combat with their incredible speed, and they're really just a devastating force on the battlefield. If you're an army that doesn't have primarily or 100% fly, they will probably wrap you up in close combat, make themselves immune to being shot by you, and pick you apart from there. So I'm going to give you a cool few tricks on how to beat Tyranids. So first, to beat Tyranids, you have to understand how Tyranids work, and that's probably one of the things that most people just fundamentally don't understand in competitive 40K. So you have a unit of Gene Stealers here. They're Kraken Gene Stealers, so they move 8 and run 3d6, pick the highest. Gene Stealers in general can advance and charge. So I'm going to advance them 13 inches. If I want, I could spend a command point to double this advance roll to move 18 inches, but in this case, I don't need to. Also remember, in competitive 40K, this is probably going to be a unit of like 20 Gene Stealers, not 5. So then we have Swarm Lord, who's going to follow right behind Sue, and he's going to advance 9 plus 6 is going to be 15 inches to right behind him. In the shooting phase, he's going to use his Hive Commander ability to move these guys again, and they're going to get right up and close and personal to this guard army. Again, remember, this is probably going to be a unit of 20 Gene Stealers in real life. So what the Stealers are going to do here is they're going to charge the Guardsmen, and unfortunately, 20 Guardsmen are no match for 20 Gene Stealers when the Stealers are charging, so the Guardsmen all go away. From here, the Tyranid player has a couple options. One, he can move forward 3 inches and just be sad about his life. But that's not what Tyranid players do. He can now spend 1 command point to use Overrun, which will now let him move and advance. So he rolled a 6. He can now spend 1 command point if he wants to double that, 20 inches, and he can move all the way back behind the building. So this is obviously really bad, because what you've done here as the Tyranid player is you've gotten rid of all of your opponent's screens and returned back to safety. The 2 Leman Russes, these steel behemoths, they're really sad because they don't have anything to shoot at. They could shoot Swarmlord, but at this point it's too little too late. Swarmlord has done his job. They also may just not even kill him because he is really tough. But regardless, the Stealers are going to come out next turn and finish off the rest of the guard army. So if we reset the situation back to when the Tyranids had just killed the screen, instead of overrunning backwards, what the Tyranid player could do, Overrun is the strat I use to run away. The Tyranid player could use Overrun to move forwards, move in advance instead of consolidating, and get 1 inch away from the Gene Stealers. Now, since he has declared a successful charge this turn, he may still actually activate the fight again stratagem. It's a common misconception for people. They think that they can't use the fight against stratagem if they're not in close combat. You absolutely can. So the Gene Stealers can just fight again, and even though they didn't declare the Leman Russes as a charge target, they're still able to lock them up, and Leman Russes will have to fall back and be unable to shoot. Swarm Lord will now move up, and the Stealers will just keep rinsing and repeating this process, and the guard player basically can't win from here. So what can the guard player do to mitigate all of that? Well, there's a couple things. First, we're going to reset the screen. One thing he could do is put 1 Leman Russ, just like so, within 3, and the Punisher, the more anti-infantry oriented Russ, all the way back in the corner. So now, when the Stealers move up, just like they did before, all the way up to here, to charge the guard screen, and engage the Russes, and Swarmlord moves up to Hive Commander them. Now, when the Stealers charge and wipe all the guard away, they are within 3 of the Russ. Overrun has a special rule, or part of the stratagem says that you may only actually use Overrun if you're not within 3 inches of an enemy model. Since they're within 3 inches of an enemy model, they won't be able to use Overrun. They will be able to pile in like normal, or consolidate normals rather, and tag the Leman Russ, but at least now you can fall back with your Leman Russ and blast the Gene Stealers away with your Punisher. But this isn't foolproof at all. If the Gene Stealer player is of a higher caliber, he'll see right through that trick and get by you. So here's how he does that. So again, reset the whole situation. You have your 2 units of 10 guardsmen right here. The Steelers can use a fancy trick of wrapping. Even though your guardsmen are well spaced and the Steelers can't physically pass through the space between your bases, they will charge just this 10-man squad on the right over here and charge in such a way whether they're all right on the edge, right next to this guy on the new squad, kill this 10-man right over there, and then consolidate just like this, 3 inches around here, 3 inches around here, 3 inches around here. This model is tri-pointed. This is a top tactic that all tournament players use over and over and over again in every game. This model isn't able to physically move through the bases of the Tyranids, so they can't fall back, meaning that no matter how much excellent planning you did with your Lehman Russes, you still can't shoot the Tyranids, and in your turn, they're going to kill this last unit of 10 guard, and going into the next turn, the Tyranids are still in the same position. So what is a guard player to do? Because it seems like there's no good way to screen against Tyranids. Well, to be honest, there isn't. You don't beat Tyranids by screening. They will be happy that you screen because it gives them something to hug in close combat, and they can just walk right through them as if they're not even there. So the way you beat Tyranids is actually more in the fundamental list design strategy for your army. You need to include some powerful close combat units, typically of a tougher variety like Custodes, right here. It doesn't have to be Custodes. For a guard in this example, you could do it with Bulgrin. For Eldari, you could do it with your Grotesques from the Drukhari stuff, or Wraithblades if you're into Eldar. For Orcs, you can do it with Meganobs, or just actually sheer amount of boys will work as well. Almost all armies have a very tough, powerful close combat unit, barring things like Tau. And the reason you want to use a tough, powerful close combat unit, you want to set them up like this. So the Tyranid player has an option now. He can charge in. He can do whatever he wants. He can kill the 20 guardsmen. It doesn't matter. He's within 3 inches of the Custodes because they are basically base to base with your guardsmen right behind it, just off of base to base, so they can't actually get attacked themselves. So the Tyranid player won't be able to run backwards in the building and stay back to safety. The Tyranid player might be able to wrap something if you let him. 5, 10. Maybe the Tyranid player can get a wrap off this guy and avoid being shot. And in this scenario, he actually can't. But let's say I screwed up my screen, or my Custodes placement, and he actually can, and he wrapped this guardsman. Well, that's not the end of the world, because you don't need to actually be able to shoot the Tyranids now to get them. You can just walk forward and countercharge with your Custodes. And if you guys have ever played against Tyranids, they're not the toughest guys. They're not surviving a charge of 9 Custodians or 9 Bulgrin or whatever. And just like that, this is a much better scenario for the guard player. So fundamentally, the only way to beat Tyranids is either to have an army of mostly, and I mean like mostly 90 to 100% fly, to prevent them from doing their wrapping shenanigans and avoid being shot, or to have a very durable close combat unit in your army. If you look at all the top armies that exist, they pretty much always have one of those 2 factors to avoid the fact that they have if they don't have that, they'll pretty much always lose Tyranids. So those are your 2 options of beating Tyranids at the highest level. You need to either be all fly, or you need to have a strong close combat centric melee unit that's durable to be a countercharge for when you do inevitably get wrapped. But ultimately, the most important thing with Tyranids is to understand how they work. So hopefully I cleared that up for you guys, knowing how the overrun and the fight again and all those stratagems work together to show you how quick this army actually is and how much screens don't matter to it. So that's how you beat Tyranids in Warhammer 40,000.